That's all.
Welcome back, everyone. Yes, indeed. Very special guest appearance tonight from our good friend, the Popeye. And it's almost...
And hey, I want to say something real quick. First of all, Mermaid Moxie, you're absolutely right. It is much better music than anything that Kev Baker has ever picked, ever. So you're absolutely 100% right there. And then, as a special bonus to actually having good music, and that's the nice thing about the weekends, is we can actually do this now because Scotty and I have overruled Kev on this one. But yeah, it's good to have Popeye here. We can agree on that one, can't we, Kev?
Well, we can, but why have you got a stupid emoji stuck in front of your face, Joe?
Why not?
On your Skype? What's happened to your Skype, man?
I don't know. What's happened to it?
I don't know. There's just like a big, huge emoji there.
I didn't do it, dude. I see it, but I didn't do it. That's awesome.
I'm going to hang up
How
on
did that happen?
I'll hang up on
The
you.
gremlins are here, and it's not even 2 minutes in.
I know the gremlins are here. Popeye, did you bring gremlins with you tonight?
Bro, you know how Skype rolls.
Are we back?
There we
is
go.
this better now?
Dude, I could not have done the show seriously if you'd stayed with that emoji happening. But yeah, like I said, thought it was going to be the 4 horsemen of the WOOpocalypse, okay? However, it's Bizarro land. We're in
That
Orwellian.
three-legged horse is still pretty good. It can
Exactly.
move around, albeit, maybe with a prosthesis.
3 out of 4
That's
horsemen
because the
ain't
fourth-
bad.
Well, the fourth leg is rebuilding his computer now today. He's been working on it all day. So he's upgrading it. When it comes back, it'll be stronger and faster.
Yes, it would appear that we're all doubling down our efforts to put information out there in the WOOpocalypse. And Popeye, before we get going anywhere tonight with a really interesting bunch of stories that Joe Joseph has brought to the table here, really good woo, good fascinating stuff. But Popeye, you didn't want to spoil it before the show. You wanted to share your observations, if you may, your Mr. Miyagi moment when you stepped away from everything, observed what was going on, and now you've come to a giant Popeye quantum solution or conclusion. Tell us what's happening, dude.
Well, you can't have a solution to a problem without knowing that there's a problem to begin with, right? I mean, the solution is the same as it's always been, but people seem to be unaware.
Just so you know, Popeye, Joe's actually away for a nap right now. He's kicking back. He's got his feet up.
He's probably putting his feet up. He's going to break out a cup of coffee and just sit back and relax. I know how Joe rolls. So if you're aware that there's a problem, then you can at least do something about it. The problem, one of the major problems I see today is that many people don't even seem to be aware of the same problems they were a few years ago. It's like everyone's in a trance. Now everyone's suddenly in this, left-right paradigm again. Us versus them. It's the same base level of thinking, the same base mentality that we were at, 10 years ago, right? We were just talking about this off air, how it's been 10 years since the BP oil spill, right? We were all active and, trying to wake people up 10 years ago, and we were doing a great job. And it was still this, left-right paradigm. And we're right back into that. People were waking up from that, and they got dragged back into it. Now, how did that happen? That's the little theory or hypothesis that I have for everybody tonight. Now, this is my observation. Whether you choose to believe it or not, that's up to you, right? But this is from many years of experience and having an open set of eyes. And as everyone on this broadcast has done, we've all kind of like unplugged from social media. And Joe and I were talking about how refreshing it is to actually just not care about social media, like just not care, like whatever. Twitter, Facebook, that's nice. Instagram, that's nice. Right? Like you don't care. It's nice to unplug and let go.
I truly feel like a crotchety old curmudgeon of old now. You know what I mean? I've really ascended to that level of oldness. I don't know. I can just feel myself decaying, and it's just a natural crotchetyism that comes about. I don't know how else to describe it. It's really crazy.
I have two granddaughters now.
Yeah, see?
So my brain is on a total different
hang
level.
on, Popeye, hang on. That is my good friend Sid, and Sid, get this. On the 24th, that's Christmas Eve, your parcel from Norway will be delivered to yours truly. So yes, we will be playing PS4 for Christmas, Sid. Absolutely. Thank you, Popeye. Back to you. I'm sorry I didn't mean to interrupt your scintillatingly deep analysis of what's been going on here.
Well, there's a lot of things going on. It's just the agenda as usual, right? But people aren't paying attention to that. Like, I mean, everyone's fighting over whether or not to impeach Trump, whether or not you should impeach Trump, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, are any of you paying attention at all to what's going on? Everyone's arguing over whether Trump did this. They're getting it's a straw man argument. Yeah, it's a straw man argument, and everyone's getting up all involved in it. But it's bullshit.
I'll be honest with you. Let me say this: in my day-to-day interactions with people, no one gives a shit about that. No one's paying attention to it. It's on the fucking news the whole time. But let me tell you something. No one gives a rat's ass about it. It's all noise at this point. So they've all tuned out. They don't give a shit one way or another.
Exactly, and that also in itself serves a purpose because it makes people numb to politics again, where they don't want to pay attention to it. And that is just the way the politicians want everybody, because just like Zbigniew Brzezinski said at that CFR meeting in Canada, was it like 2008 or 2006? I think it was around there. And he said, for the first time in human history, mankind has become politically awakened. And that's almost a verbatim quote by that old lizard. Okay? And it doesn't matter that he's gone. His daughter is still part of the game. Mika Brzezinski, MSNBC Mika Brzezinski, Morning Joe, that Mika Brzezinski, yeah, her father, one of the founding members of the Trilateral Commission, I may add.
And one of Kev's poster girls, if you will.
You can see her in her reptard coming out too. And he was very instrumental in many things. Afghan Mujahideen later became Al-Qaeda. Now they call it ISIS or whatever 4-letter acronym they could come up with for the day. I mean, all it is fear. That's what it should be called. The boogeyman. Fear the new boogeyman. Brrr. Look, they're going to come get you. Ooh, Al-Qaeda is now threatening, or was it ISIS? ISIS is now threatening American troops. We're going to come behead you in your homes. No, you're not. No, you're not. No,
it's funny. It's so funny you say that.
You might kill one person, but you're not. You're not going to go on this mass scale of hunting down Americans, because you know what you'd get met with? An ass kicking. That's what you'd get met with.
I'm so glad you brought that up. I just binge watched a brand new documentary on Netflix, The Devil Next Door.
It's a miniseries.
It's a miniseries about John Demjanjuk, who was Ivan the Terrible, or allegedly Ivan the Terrible, the Treblinka gas chamber guard that would just absolutely terrorize the people going into the gas chambers. And to make a long story short, the government went after him, and for 30 years they tried to convict this guy. They couldn't do it, but it's a fascinating look into how the government can actually go after you and the limitless resources that they have, and how it's just unbelievable, dude. I'm kind of glad you brought that up, because it was just kind of what you're talking about tonight, and kind of what I've been led to kind of get back into, is very parallel in nature. Just very interesting.
Quantum mechanics at work, Joe. It's called quantuming, right? Okay, you and I are like brothers. We're quantumly entangled.
Yeah.
Kev is like a brother. We're all a big family.
Did
So
you just make up
Scott,
an entirely new word there? Quantuming.
That's what I
Quantuming.
call it. I've been yeah, well, newsflash, that's what I've been calling it. In fact, all of my stepdaughters,
It doesn't
and
work,
my
though.
granddaughters are learning it. I tell the girls all the time.
Quantuming, no.
Yes, dude.
Entangled,
Think
yes.
about it.
Quantuming, no.
Entangled, yes. Quantuming, no. Yeah,
Yes,
entangled, yes.
Yes. Well, it's quantuming is the action of it. Because on a quantum level, we are entangled, and that's why everyone is starting to think alike and doing the same things. You find that in your own personal life. A mother with her children. How do you think a mother knows what's going on with her children beforehand? They call it mother's intuition. She's quantumly entangled with her kids.
One day soon, Popeye. One day soon, she'll get a message on her phone. It'll be an app to tell you how your kid's doing. You'll get an alert. Because you know how most people spend more time on their phone than they do with their family these days, you know?
Well, you see that in public, dude. That's a whole nother episode in and of itself. Tina hates that, dude. She hates it. If her and I go out to eat or something, we purposely put our phones off.
That's what
and
we
we
do.
put them off to the side.
That's what we
And
usually
we sit
do, yeah.
and we focus on each other and just talk to each other and enjoy our time together. It's so stupid. You see families going out to dinner and no one's talking. Everyone's on their phone.
So, Popeye,
That is kind of ridiculous.
It is.
Why go out? Why go out with each other?
So, Popeye, come on.
It's such
So,
a good point.
before we get too off track, I mean, Popeye, where are we
so
going?
let me get back into my story.
Exactly,
Here,
yeah.
okay.
I'm trying to think
So-
where we were. Look at Joe
So you
laughing.
get sidetracked. It's really simple. Okay, so it's really simple. It's been about 5 or 6 years since Ferguson, right? The other day, someone said to me, "Hey, everything kind of got jacked up right around the time that whole Ferguson thing happened." Yeah, and I've been saying this for years because it was that's when the algorithm, right, the matrix corrected itself. That's when it almost pushed forward with a forced update, so to speak, okay, where you woke up and one day the story was, hey, why do cops have MRAPs? Why are the cops dressed like the military? Joe and I did a show about Anaheim, California. Remember, Joe? And there was a protest because there was a shooting in Anaheim. And the cops were, it quickly escalated and there was a lot of people protesting. And the cops showed up. They were dressed like SWAT, except they were in camis, full on, camis. And at the time, it was the same camo, same pattern that the National Guard or the
that was
Army
bizarre,
did.
man. That was bizarre because they should be using urban camis and not or urban. They shouldn't even be called camis. They're just the black tactical.
Yeah, they usually wear pajama. They look like the black pajama gang, but
BDUs,
the American
BDUs,
version.
yeah.
Right. And here, here you have that. Remember, we were you can't tell. Joe and I were going over showing pictures, and we were you can't tell who's military and who's a cop. Nobody had patches on.
No, they've really blurred the lines. They really have.
And they were standing there with grenade launchers, so you knew some of them were not cops. You're like, that's a military issue grenade launcher. I don't give a shit. The cops don't have that. I mean, I know some cops may have
now they do
through that program. I forget what the hell was it what's the title of it, Joe? You used to know the thing off the top of your head.
Oh, crap. The 1033 program.
It's 1033. Okay, that's what I thought it was. I knew it was something 33. So, the 1033 program, where here you can have all of our surplus military gear. So I know that some of them have grenade launchers, but there was
a lot of them do, and they use their non-lethal rounds in there.
Right, but see, that's that line that was blurred, because it was like, wait,
very much so.
Cops shouldn't have that. But wait a minute, they do, because of the. So it's like, shit. Who's a cop? Who's military? And that was the conversation. And suddenly, CNN and MSNBC were even running articles and stories saying, hey, how come the police are dressed like the military? Is this martial law? Because now martial law had become a commonplace term. People were actually using martial law. Back when we first started this, y'all remember, if you said martial law or police state, people would be like, oh, you're a conspiracy kook. Now they were actually talking about it in the mainstream. And suddenly that narrative changed. And that changed with Ferguson. And it changed because the narrative overnight went from police state and police brutality, which is what it is, to racist white cops don't like black people, which then set the stage for white people don't like black people. And black people don't like white people. You see how easy and simple it is to bring everybody back down to a base level of thinking and tribalism to fight amongst each other? And that's
and then of course you've got the election of Donald Trump, which then inflames the situation, because now you've fomented this division between that, and where you get that a lot is with lower income, with the the lower class, or so, if you go by class or feudalism, like we're doing right now, right? The lower class is the one that's most affected by that kind of agenda. And then you get an election of a president like Donald Trump. He's going to inflame the situation because he's very pro-police. So now he's out there pushing the police and wanting all of the things that we fought so hard against, like your stop and frisks, like all of these weapons transfers from the military to civilian police forces, like the MRAPs and the military vehicles that they have. All of that stuff is now back front and center, and the narratives change to where people are actually supporting it because Trump said so, because they buy into that cult of personality.
Well, there's the second part of my theory. So what if I told you that Trump winning the presidency wasn't a fluke, and that Hillary was never supposed to win, and that was all a big show? And remember, the best way to hide a lie is in between two truths, right? The best place to do something is right out in the open, because that's the last place people expect you to be doing anything illegal or bad. So people aren't going to be looking at you cross-eyed. They're going to assume whatever you're doing is legit and on the up and up, right? It's like if you have confidence, you can get into many places. If you fake it till you make it kind of attitude, you can. When I was a PI, there were plenty of times I talked my way into gated communities past security guards to go, follow somebody who would, for whatever reason. Didn't matter what the reason was, but if I had to follow somebody and get through a security checkpoint, like a security guard or a front gate or something, without the person knowing that I'm following them, I had to pretend to be different people. And you know what? If you have confidence, you can do it. You can pull it off, because people aren't expecting that. Most people, this is how the government, by the way, gets away with things, because people don't think that the government would be so evil as to take out 3,000 of their own American citizens in one act, or over 3,000 citizens in one act, plus all the thousands and thousands that have died since from illnesses here, not to mention the million plus Iraqis that died in a bullshit war that was based off this event. But
dude, look what they did. Look what they did in the 1920s with the federal poisoning program, poisoning our own people at home to make people scared of alcohol to deter them from drinking in support of prohibition. They killed over 10,000 of our own people.
Yeah, it's actually called the Federal Poisoning Program.
Yeah.
We did a show about this, John.
Yeah, that's right. But, you know, think about that.
I love how they have, by the way, I just love how they have an acronym for everything.
Popeye, just for people out there that might think you're bashing on cops, that's not what you're trying to say at all. It's the militarization of the cops, isn't it?
Okay, I'm not hating on police. Okay, first of all, I mean, it's a conversation and a debate to be had whether or not you need to have some sort of enforcer type nanny with a stick to beat you over the head.
Right, of course.
Wrong. Okay, but I'm not saying that we should, all cops are evil. It's the people that join the police department join for many.
They join for the wrong reasons, dude.
Yes, there's many different reasons they join, just like people joining the military, right? I'm a vet, Joe's a vet, Kev's a vet. So we understand that. With hindsight's 2020, and we're older, so we have a bit of a different perspective on things than we did when we were much younger. Right. So yeah, I know we were just talking about that too. My friggin' back. So
Shocking,
we have a complete different perspective, a much wiser perspective on things. So I'm not saying that cops are bad. I'm not bashing cops. That's not what this is about. But I am bashing the police state. Okay, and the term police state doesn't mean, oh, the police in their uniforms. I mean, they're part of it, but the police state is the nanny state. It's everything you see around you. It's being told what you can eat, where you can go. Like we're supposed to have freedoms. The founding fathers weren't like, oh, let's build a government to control everybody, even though right here it says that in our founding documents, that's the exact opposite of what we were trying to do. Okay, it's human nature. I get it. We want to control each other, try to not let somebody do something that maybe we disagree with or dislike, and that's kind of a debate that will always happen in a free society. But I'd rather have that debate constantly and have the freedom to have that debate than have that shut down because it hurts someone's feelings or they get triggered by it or whatever else. Okay, everyone needs to grow up and get a pair. Okay. Oh, did I just misgender everybody by saying that? Is that mean now? If I say get a pair? Is that hate speech?
Probably. I don't know.
I think
anyone's
not really triggering my wokeness right now.
When you think about it, you're being very inclusive because you're saying anyone can get a pair. You're not denying anyone a pair.
No, you're not denying anybody a pair. Yeah. So that's why I'm saying my wokeness wasn't triggered with what you said.
Exactly. My vajankle didn't get particularly at all. No.
No, I'm not picking on anyone individually. I think
I noticed that.
Together. Yeah, no. See, everyone's in this together. The world, it's not one group of individuals that's going to make the world a better place. It's everyone working together. Again, if we think of this on a more galactic scale, like I used to say on my show, I've been to a couple different art museums in my life, and I've gotten a chance to see some of Rembrandt's works. And Rembrandt had this thing where he would paint like paintings that would fit on a wall. They're huge. And you can go up and get really close to his work and see the minute detail, which I recommend if you ever see his work, you do, because it's absolutely amazing how he did that with the limited, oils and paints and stuff that they had back in the day compared to like digital stuff today, right? But it's amazing. Anyway, if you step back, you can't really take the whole picture in until you step 10, 20 feet back and look at it because it's so vast and it's so big. So if we do that and we look at things on a galactic scale, right, we're infants. We really are. And if we want to like grow up and like make mankind take this leap to the next level, then we need to like step up to the plate and stop fighting over the stupidest things in the world. Like, again, sand, whose imaginary friend was right about whatever fake law that it wrote or he wrote or she wrote or they or whatever pronoun your God chooses to go by. I mean, it's ridiculous. This is does anybody understand that we're fighting over the same concept? It doesn't matter what you call it. or where you're from, what your personal side beliefs, all the window dressing, so to speak, are. We're all arguing over whether or not there's something that exists. Like, people that believe that there's a God force that created everything are killing each other over whose version of that, omnipotent, all-loving power is. How stupid is that? No wonder aliens don't want to talk to us. Would you? I wouldn't. I'm not going to go hang out with people that are this primitive and throwing sticks and rocks at each other because they're all fighting over this tiny little patch of freaking sand in the middle.
Now, if it was me and I was them looking down on us, I would probably destroy the Earth in favor of putting a galactic highway through this area right here. Yeah, that's what I would do.
Well, maybe
they're terraforming this place for something else right now anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Maybe there's like a galactic version of the EPA, right? And they're like, no, there's some wetlands there, so they're going to keep it, and they're going to leave the species alone, but they put a force field around it to not let us out.
Popeye, would they tell you that the vacuum is safe to breathe?
Right? Oh my God!
Be not alarmed, my friend. Be not alarmed.
Exactly.
For the vacuum is safe to breathe.
Oh my Lord! So my theory with the second part is with Trump is that he's kind of a straw man, right? In a sense that he's not really what you think he is. He was surprised that he got in, right? We were live.
Yeah, he honed his craft in The Apprentice. So
right.
he figured out how to survive in a reality TV environment, and then he just took it to the White House, and that's what he's turned the White House and everything into is a reality TV show.
But what if he didn't turn it into his reality TV show? That's what I'm saying.
No, he didn't. Come on. He's just a willing participant.
No, but that's what I mean. Everybody aims their anger at him. The president is nothing but a front man.
Yeah, he's face
Obama
man.
was the same way. He was nothing but a front man. Okay, so if we know that.
That's right. What was it? What did that guy call him? What was it? Reverend, that black reverend there. What was his name?
Long-legged Mac Daddy.
The long-legged Mac Daddy usurper.
Yes, the long-legged
Mac Daddy Obama.
Yes.
Okay, I like it.
So long-legged Mac Daddy, right? He was the same thing. He was just a puppet. He's a front man. That's all the president is nowadays. Right. So the general public can get pissed off at whatever the president does. Right. He's the focal point, but it's the machinations behind him that actually do everything. It's the machine. It's not really him. He's just a front man. We all know that. I mean, he may have power and be able to do certain things or direct certain things. But I mean, look at how many times presidents have been stifled in their agendas. I mean, if they really had the ultimate power, like the media would lead you to believe Trump has, right, then he could just ram through whatever he wanted. I mean, if that's really how it was, right? But that's not how it works. There are still some checks and balances. If something passes, it's not because the president wanted it. It's because his handlers.
I don't know. This is the way I kind of see it, right? Back in 1994, Newt Gingrich basically said, for $500 million, I can buy every vote that I need. And he went and they did it. And that's how they got how the Republicans won back the House, and they went to the lowest level, the local level, and they started buying off all of these little governments, and what do you know, $500 million later? Yeah. So you're right in that the only difference is when you get a billionaire in there, and with the Citizens United decision of 2010, where now people are corporations and corporations are people. So you can't deny a corporation its First Amendment right. And therefore now you have all these super PACs and everything else. So if you get a crafty billionaire in there, he can most certainly go ahead and affect change and start buying votes and starting to put pressure on these non-representing representatives down at the base level. And I'm surprised that Trump hasn't figured that out yet. You know, here he has some resources, unless he's like one of those typical billionaires where the wealth is really just all this perceived wealth and it's really nothing but paper, and he really doesn't have a lot of cash wealth. I don't know if that's maybe the deal or whatever, but he could certainly freaking buy things if he wanted to get things done. He could freaking do it, but that's not his purpose. That's not his purpose. You're absolutely right. He's a face man. And so,
right, and he's a reality TV show personality. Now,
yeah.
Remember about 5 years before he was elected, right after Obama got in, maybe like 6 years before he was elected president, probably about Obama's second year, around there. It was right around the time we were reporting. You go back, people look this up, right around between 2008, 2010 is when we were and into like 2011. And even beyond, because I remember talking about this on radio, and we started all doing like radio, and it was 2011 when like Orion and all that picked up, and then Oracle was out there and all that, and then it kind of rolled into what everything is today. So it had to have been between like 2011 and 2012, somewhere around there, is when I know one of the broadcasts, if you look around that time period, you'll see that there were stories, radio shows, podcasts, some of us were talking about it, where they were talking about how they're going, and the media was openly talking about this, that they were going to blur the lines between reality and TV. And if you notice, right about that time, there used to be a difference between commercial actors and TV stars and movie stars doing commercials, right? Once in a while, you might have a TV or a movie star come over and do a commercial, and it was a super big deal. Oh my God, did you see that commercial with so-and-so? Whoa, right? But it wasn't the norm up until they proclaimed that they were going to start almost blurring the lines of reality TV and reality itself. Okay, and that's what reality TV was supposed to do, because they call it, quote, reality TV, and they show a different type of video capture where it looks like it's not staged and it's not scripted. But I can tell you from my own experience with reality TV, okay, that it is very much, it's not, maybe not scripted, but it's controlled. You don't have as much creative, quote unquote, freedom. And to a certain extent, it is scripted. Like when you see these shows where people come in and like the tattoo reality shows, okay, that's how I know it. So the people that came in and they randomly come into the shop and, oh, what's your story? What kind of tattoo do you want today? But that's all preset. They came in for an interview already. They filled out what kind of tattoo, a form with what kind of tattoo they wanted. They came in for like a pre-interview, and then they come in the day of the shooting and they do this, the episode, and they might shoot a couple, like 2-3 episodes. There's no like cameras up and it just naturally flowing into the shop. But that's how it's presented on all those shows. And it's the same with any of these reality TV shows. Anything that's presented in that same manner, that it's natural flowing, it's not. You know those bad girls shows where they get girls from all over and they get them drunk and their girls fight and all this stupid crap? By the way, great example for young girls. It's exactly what my 2 granddaughters saying, right? But those kind of shows, I know a young lady that was on one of those shows, okay? And she informed us that the contract that they had to sign, they weren't allowed to do drugs, because obviously these shows don't want to get sued or go out and get, you know, in trouble with the feds or the police, right? So they say, oh, you can't do drugs. No, do drugs. Drugs will get you kicked out. You know, I'm sure some of the people are doing drugs. But one of the things in the contract that says is you have to drink a lot, like a certain amount a day. Okay, that's to keep them drunk. And then the producers go in there off, you know, when you don't see them, the producers are there behind the scenes, and they'll poke and prod them, so to speak. Maybe say, hey, I heard this girl say something about you or whatever. They do that on purpose. They create drama. It's entertainment, but it's not really about entertainment. You know that, but you know what I mean. They're not doing it to get, quote unquote, reality. So this fictional version of reality is presented to the audience as real, and people buy it because, you know, the TV puts them into a trance-like state, and then it's just being programmed. So now this line of reality and TV is being blurred. Now, in comes this change with the commercials, where suddenly commercials, I mean, there are actors that are strictly in commercials, but a lot of times you see this massive crossover now with more regular TV stars and regular actors doing more commercials than they used to. Well, now, because again, they're bringing entertainment personalities, people that you associate with films and entertainment and TV, into your everyday life.
Well,
now they're in a kitchen.
Popeye, let me add this, okay? You've got KSI and Logan Paul recently from YouTube. Big boxing match. It was broadcast all around the world, pay-per-view. And again, like you're saying, you're getting your normal, ordinary, everyday people, your social media stars, your influencers. They're now...
Popeye, I'm one of your biggest fans. Kev works me like a dog having to read these stupid super chats. My question to you is, how do you feel being a veteran of the Department of Transportation?
Oh, wow.
Oh, that's got to be from Joe.
Oh, that is Joe.
That's totally from Joe.
Dude, that was totally Brian. Brian said, that wasn't me.
Yeah, sure it wasn't. Sure it wasn't. Luckily, I didn't work. Well, I worked for the DOT, the DOD, and DHS. So
It was Brian, dude.
He was in a Coast
right.
Guard's
It
canoe.
said right there, look, Kev works me like a dog having to read these stupid super chats. I don't read the super chats. Kev,
Right,
that's
no.
Brian.
right, I like how Joe just throws everybody under the bus. Welcome to Joe Joseph.
Yeah, he's been derailing people the whole time you've been gone, Popeye.
He tries to derail me, but see, Joe gets irritated because I have this Jedi ability to be like, these aren't the droids you're looking for. These aren't the droids you want. And I can just deflect his retarded bullshit. So, nice try, Joe. But
So are we ready to launch into some other stories tonight now?
you get my point. You get the drift of this, the whole point of why you see what's going on. Where do we live now? We live in a reality TV show. So the whole point is he was supposed to be the president. They were supposed to let Trump in because you also had the Second Amendment loving crowd pissed off and ready to fight. I mean, dude, Lavoy Finicum, remember that? Remember the Bundy Ranch?
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Okay. So you had people that were willing to face off against the government, and they weren't afraid. And that kind of, that put a scare into them. Right. So how did they handle that? They brought all those very same people back into the fold with Trump. That's what he's for, because the very same people who are like, man, it's time for 1776. We're going to rise again. Second Amendment are all now like, whoa, the president says we should, vote Republican. Yay.
Yeah, dude. It's almost like they had they're on like this 4-year trip where they're just totally 180'd out and screwy. All these people that used to be staunch anti-police brutality instantly go, whoop, hey, Trump's in, so now the police are good because they have to be because Trump's president. I'm like, what?
Dude,
what the hell?
The war on cops theme.
Norway again.
Hey boys. Don't mess with me, we should be.
I'll do it, Brian. See, Brian's now pissed off, Joe, because you abused him.
Brian is not
You
pissed
made
off.
him say something that he didn't technically mean. He even got caught out by that. Now he's feeling butthurt in the corner. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, wow. Good
should,
job, Joe.
He should feel butthurt
Yeah,
in
my
the corner.
AI has
I mean,
feelings. AI lives matter, Joe. You should know that.
yeah,
man.
Well, you
all I
can
know
tell
is
your
that
AI.
you've got some North Korean currency now coming in. That's good.
Nice. Yes. That's always appreciated. It's Norway krona, Joe.
I know what it is.
It's
I
the,
know it
the
is.
kronk,
The
I
Kronk.
remember when I was in Norway with the army. Dang, dude, the price of drink over there. Whoa.
Everything. The price of everything.
Unbelievable. But I did find out when you go out for a date.
And let me tell you something. Well, seriously, dude, you can't do that. Like Popeye could never go there because his
canoe.
Judaism would kick in and forget it. It's just, oi! Oh, look at the prices here. Oi!
Well,
I can't take
and the fact, Joe, that he never like strayed into territorial waters, being like in a Coast Guard canoe.
That's right. Yeah, you'd have to leave.
First of all,
past 70
let's get
miles.
something straight. Remember, the Coast Guard travels all over the world. Thank you very much. And number two, you know, Joe, that you've witnessed. I would just work my magic and get a deal. You've seen me do it.
That's true. I have to tell you, he is the shyster of the deal. That whole art of the deal? No, you haven't seen Popeye yet. As a matter of fact, there's got to be some way you can kind of leverage that. You know, like move over Trump. Let me show you how to really make it.
I could have been a dude. I told you, Mama told me to use my powers for the forces of good, and not.
Oh my God!
I could have been a politician,
now,
bro.
see, people that are out there who might not know Popeye, he's got a website, fedjack.com. There's archives on there. You can catch up with all of his hundreds of interviews, some of the biggest names that you'll hear today. Some of them, unfortunately, not with us anymore. But yeah, well, hopefully we'll get Popeye back on the airwaves sometime.
Yeah, we
soon.
could call maybe we could call you like Super Heat.
I have a website, being a new website. One of my friends is helping me construct a new website, but it's
Is it called Popeye's Hole?
No, it's going to be you can go, if you want to go check my download archives. They're still on. The archives themselves are still hosted right now.
Do you still have like Popeye Radio, or did that get?
No, that got nuked, bro. Somebody sniped that. So
that's too bad, man.
It went up for auto renewal, and as soon as it went up for renewal, it wasn't set to auto renew, and
so sniped it out from under you.
One of my and one of my friends was the ones that was. He was the one that was monitoring it, and he took. Dude, it was like literally they were waiting for it because it was like within an hour of it coming due. It was
you gotta wonder if they don't have an algorithm.
No, I think that'll be a bot. That'll be a bot. It'll be anything that's sort of like it's getting so much traffic. It'll probably put an automatic bid in, I would imagine.
Well, that's okay because they were. See, that's not where that's not the domain or at least the direct location that the archives are located anyway. So the archives are located on federaljack.com in a subfolder. But the easiest way to get to them is just go to your browser and type in rabbithole.radio. Instead of .com, you use .radio. So the website, and eventually there'll be a full website right there. Right now, it directs you to the subdirectory where all my archives are. So if you type in rabbithole.radio, it'll bring you, boom, right there, and you can listen to all the old shows for free. There's tons of stuff on there.
Rabbithole.radio. You have to say it like a Scotsman.
Right.
There you go.
You sounded more Spanish stuff.
Rabbithole.radio.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could call me a little Spanish there too. Yeah, I guess
right,
you're
guys, right. Come on, let's get into some of these stories because Joe, some of these are pretty good. First one, boom, going to Sputnik. We love Sputnik here. I'll need to get Lee Stranahan back on the show. Good guy. He works for them.
Man, let me tell you, it was a great interview you did with Lee.
Yeah, he's a really nice guy, and also he is in contact with George Galloway. I really want to get George Galloway on the show, but leave that with me. So this year, interesting date, Joe, 21st of the 12th, 2019, and it came out at 2001. The doom of ancient Egypt might befall Earth soon. I thought this would be the perfect story to kick us off on our WOOpocalypse travels tonight. What's going on, man?
Me too. It says, describing the downfall of the old kingdom of Egypt, the archaeologist who found the tomb of one of the rulers from that time period warns that history may repeat itself. According to the newspaper, the discovery of the burial chamber, along with some inscriptions inside and artifacts which offer insight into the Queen's life, which may not have been too glorious, helps shine light on a black patch in the history of the Old Kingdom, as Professor Miroslav Barta, the leader of the Czech archaeological team that found the tomb, puts it. As Barta explained, the time period in question witnessed the Old Kingdom facing major critical factors like the horrific impact of nepotism and the climate change, which contributed to the disintegration of the era of the pyramid builders. Without reasonable floods, there was no reasonable harvests, and therefore very bad taxes. Without appropriate taxes, there were no sufficient means to finance the state apparatus and maintain the ideology and integrity of the state, the professor explained. Bart also noted that history may actually repeat itself. What with the climate crisis our planet seems to be facing. Yes, thank you, Schmiegel.
Sorry, climate crisis, sorry.
Yes, you can find many paths to our modern world, which is also facing many internal and external challenges. But by studying the past, you can learn much more about the present. We're not different from them. People always think this time is different and that we're different, but we're really not. Bart further argued if we accept collapse as a fact, we will understand collapses as being a part of the natural course of things, and one of the needed steps is the process leading towards resurrection. Then we shall be able to do something about it, he said, adding that he needs a few more years to establish what his discovery means in Egypt. But interesting he said that, because I kind of agree with him in the fact that collapses are a part of a cycle, which everything in the Matrix is cyclical. From the biggest to the smallest, they're all little cycles, little things going in circles, you know?
If you believe in the expansion and contraction of the universe itself.
Same thing, right? Yeah. Same thing. So it's not about how you prevent it, right? Or even prevent it for that matter, because I don't think you can. It's inevitable. It's how you manage it, and then how you come out on the other side. So you know it's going to happen. You know it's going to be bad. Okay, how do we manage it so that come hell or high water, somebody gets through to the other side and can start over? You know,
I tell you what, though, right?
Whatever, survive.
I mean, Popeye, I'll get your thoughts on this. In recent times, the last 12 months or so, we've seen so much of an increase in the climate kind of propaganda, and they're obviously using this as a big kind of instrument to implement a lot of global kind of apparatus, shall we call it. Do you think they're going to keep pushing this whole kind of we're doomed 11 years scenario to get us that global government, or do you think it's going to be some other crisis that they use to get us there?
Well, they'll use whatever crisis they can, but the whole idea, I mean, how many of their predictions have been wrong? The whole, another 12 years after your girlfriend, Ocasio-Cortez, or Occasional Cortex, said that, right? There were scientists that were like, well, no, we don't actually mean that world is going to end in 12 years, because that's kind of just drastic and almost silly talk. Yeah, it is. Okay. Look, I don't agree with polluting. Can I just pause for a second and point out how you can take a positive message?
Planet, pollution down to zero.
Do you see how you can take a positive thing and turn it into something negative? Because they take the idea, right? They take positive ideas and they pervert them into evil things, right? So instead of, they know people are going to care about the planet, right? So they get people invested in this idea and give up everything. You need this police state type world. You need taxes. But can I just, how in the hell is paying money to Al Gore and his crony a-hole friends and some government, no matter where, how is paying some fee gonna fix the climate? Because newsflash, these companies that are allowed to pay quote unquote carbon credits, right? what happens with their pollution? It doesn't stop. They just pay the carbon credits to quote unquote offset the pollution, but you're still dumping the crap into the earth, right? Isn't that what the whole point of doing this was to stop? So you see how a good thing is then taken and perverted into this money-making scheme, and then they use it to push this, oh, mankind is going to die in 12 years. Look, if that's the case, if mankind was really, if the situation was that dire, why are y'all wasting time dicking around with this impeachment bullshit? If the world's going to end in 12 years, don't you think this is a moot point? Right? Don't you think censorship or impeachment or whatever they wanted to throw at him, don't you think that would be a moot point if the world was actually going to end in 12 years? Think about that logically for 1 second. How much trite bullshit would be not important in the blink of an eye if that was actually true?
You know how many people right now, Popeye, are saying in their head, holy shit, he's right. What the fuck have I been doing this whole time?
Well, I certainly hope so.
No, I'm serious. It's and rightfully so, because it's so true. Yeah. How many people get swept up in that without just taking a second? And you saw how long it took you to say that and explain it. But just taking a second to look at it logically and say, is that what's really going on? Or, and kind of just lay it out like you did. And it's like that.
But Joe, you know that they want you just to react. They want that instant reaction.
Of course.
They don't want you to engage your brain and think about it.
And I'll tell you, social media is really a hotbed for that, because not only do you instantly react in most cases, because I think science has proven that in and of itself has reduced our attention span and our patience and a whole host of other things. But it's also an echo chamber. And oftentimes you're saying things to get that affirmation. You're looking for that reinforcement, that affirmation. And I'm telling you, there's not as much. And believe me, back in the day when that thing started up, it was a great tool to use for networking, because that's kind of what it was all about. And when you sent something out, it hit every one of your friends, and there was no problems, But as it's evolved, you can kind of see now what the true purpose of these platforms really were and are. And it just...
Joe, I
can no longer participate.
Yeah, but it's the oldest marketing scam in the world. And I was listening to Ian Corzine. Remember the lawyer I got on the channel before?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And he explained it perfectly. He said, first of all, you give everything away for free. You get your users in there. You get them hooked on the product. You get them addicted. And we were able to share things at one point, and you would see that like 500 people had seen this. And then all of a sudden it would go down to like 40 people had seen it. But for $5, you can now pay to get to those original people. So you give it away for free, you get them hooked. And then just like any dealer of any product, be it good or bad, they come in and they hit you with a big cash bill. Now you pay for it, punk. That's what's happening here.
Right. No, absolutely. I mean, that's like your street drug blueprint too. That's kind of how they get you hooked there as well. But it again, it just goes to show you how wonderful a tool it was in the beginning, how we were able to use platforms like Twitter and Facebook and YouTube to affect change. But now they've been marginalized greatly through community guidelines, through censorship, and a whole host of other controls that have made it more kind of infotainment, if you will, but don't talk about any touchy subjects that might run counter to the official narrative. And what's that official narrative? Well, that official narrative is anything that, if you notice, there's like that woke narrative that goes out. It's basically that. It's that woke narrative all the way through.
It's whatever the
Even if-
mainstream tells you is.
Yeah, but it's very different than political narratives, right? It's more of that societal narrative, if you will. You know, like the inclusive narrative and all of that.
Hey.
Hey. Speaking of that, interestingly enough, there were some employees at Google that attempted to unionize, and man, they got sent out fast. They do not want unions in there. It's interesting. You know, Silicon Valley is awful when it comes to pay relative to cost of living. You look at a lot of the salaries there, and you might say, hey, those guys get paid a lot. They really don't, not relative to what it costs to live there.
Yeah, when you balance it off with the offset of the cost of living. It's like living in London, dude. You get paid extra money when you work in London because it's so extortionate. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, what do we got?
No, it's not. It's not a super chat. It's not. That's just one of our tunes. When Popeye was on his little kind of monologue there, I thought it'd be really good to play some New World Order music behind them in the background.
Oh, very good.
Yeah. So I just left it playing. So next story, Joe. This kind of fits in perfectly after the Egypt thing, right? And and it's got a modern twist on it. Emojis, what's going on, man?
I don't know. This one's on you, dude.
This
you
one's
wanted to
on
talk
me.
about
So
it.
it says,
Yeah.
well, you're the one that pulled up. I've got no idea what this is even about.
All right. Well, let me explain it. I'm just kidding. Here you go. So,
Dang,
so
dude.
I thought it was a good follow up. I really did to this.
No, Joe.
WOOpocalypse story.
I put the stories in order. You found them. I ordered them.
Would you stop it? Listen to this. This is huge because if what they say is true, that means that the Egyptians utilized emojis just like we do today. How crazy is that? It says, how does an academic explain the importance of ancient hieroglyphics to modern audiences glued to their phones? Through the cunning use of emojis, of course. The Israel Museum in Jerusalem this week opened the Emoglyphs exhibition, comparing the pictograms of antiquity to those of today. I usually find it very hard to explain how hieroglyphs are used as a script, the show's curator, Shirley Evian, told AFP. Then it occurred to me that some of the things can now be explained more easily because we are all writing with pictures now. It's become very widespread. From the heart symbol to little monkeys and foaming glasses of beer, the pictograms of our own time have been live in discussion on social media and online messaging since the late 1990s. Some emojis from the Japanese word combination of an image and written character have hieroglyphic equivalents, says Ben-Dor Evian, who argues that the images are a language in their own right. The exhibition is a small gallery within the Israel Museum, that welcomes visitors with a wall bearing similar pictograms from both eras. The modern purple-suited dancer emoji with his hands raised strikes a similar pose to an Egyptian in a loincloth from 3,000 years ago. There's a similarity in design and shapes, which is very interesting because there are thousands of years and very big cultural gaps between the two systems. In the Egyptian system,
wait a minute, Joe, come on. It's a bit of a stretch when you say there's a similarity when you've got an ancient drawing of a dog and a modern drawing of a dog. So, funnily enough, there might be a similarity between a dog and a dog. I'm just saying.
Look, when you're trying to justify the grant that the government gave you to conduct this very important research.
I have a question. Are either one of you having a problem logging into hieroglyphic book? Because I can't seem to get onto hieroglyphic book to send my ancient 5,000-year-old emojis.
That's right.
I can't get in.
I'm trying to go to Papyrogram right now, and I can't find.
Let me ask you something, right? The way society's going, and there is a definite dumbing down happening, right? But do you think eventually, and think of the fact that these emojis now are so politically correct, they come in all colours and sizes and forms and genders and everything else. I honestly think we're getting to the point where we might actually go to some pictorial emoji type language. Where words themselves.
You mean before telepathy?
Probably, Joe, yeah, probably.
Okay, I'm just checking.
Because we are going backwards after all. Point to note, and it might sound daft, but there was a thing called the Society for the Protection of the Apostrophe, right? And it was a bunch of people who were really pissed off at the fact nobody remembers now how to use an apostrophe correctly. But now they've actually closed their doors. They've given up, right? Because the apostrophe itself, there's no point in trying to explain to people anymore because they just don't understand how to use it. So 20 years, 50 years from now, do we give up even more words? Look at the way spelling has changed now that we're online. U used to be Y-O-U, but most people just use the character U now. Just one letter, U.
Well, because who cares?
Well,
Really?
Because they're dumbing society down.
Yeah, that's why you
They're
should
dumbing
care.
society down, and they're breaking down the barriers of everything. That's why you see so much weird stuff being put forward as normal.
Booga.
Just saying. And then what happens when society doesn't have any bearings anymore? Everyone's lost and they get scared. What do people do when they're afraid? They look to an outside source for protection. Yeah, and they use a huge apostrophe in the wrong place.
In the wrong place. And cats sleep with dogs. It's awful.
Right. Well,
No,
they
but
look
think
to an
about it.
outside source for protection. And who's that outside source?
My argument there is you're absolutely right. It started with us when we found out that they had removed learning cursive from the public school curriculum. And
I wonder why they did that.
Yeah, and I asked that simple question.
Look, just in case people thought I was lying, Joe, the Apostrophe Protection Society has been disbanded.
Hey, I understand. I understand. I get it. But think about that. You stop teaching that when all of our founding documents are written in a form of that, some form of script or cursive. Now you have to rely on those entities, like Popeye said, whether it be your institutions of learning or government institutions, to translate it for you. How can you be sure that they're going to translate it exactly how it was written unless you know how to read it yourself? So you have that, and then we've run into it now. Well, now
what happened? We got lost again.
It's how things are.
It's my router reset. It was my end that time. There we go. We're back now. We're back. There we go. See, no problem, boys. Where were we? Where did we get lost?
You tell us. You're the ones whose router reset.
Well, I got it reset for me. It reset for me when I was getting ready to rage about the fact that the humble apostrophe is dying a slow death. Language has been destroyed.
Oh, well, it's real simple because there was a lot spoken there while we were off, while it was getting cut off. Maybe that's why. But it's real simple. They want to, if they change words and they change meanings of words and you can dumb down society, you bring everybody down. When people can't understand anything and they don't have any base understanding of things, they have nothing to look to, no guidelines, no nothing. They're destroying the idea of family and friends and relying on anybody but yourself. People will be scared and they will be looking to an outside source to save them. And that's when the powers that shouldn't be will come in on their white horse and they'll offer you their idea of order, right? So freedom isn't in their idea of order. Right. What did George Bush Sr. say? See, for those of us that are a little older in the audience, we can remember when George H.W., the Muppets' father, when he was the president and he gave his New World Order speech. Remember that? You could probably still find that somewhere online.
Oh, yeah.
He said the law of man.
1,000 points a lot.
Yep. The law of man, not the law of the jungle. So they look at the way things are with like freedom and, being able to think for yourself and grow your own food and all that stuff. No, that's the law of the jungle. They consider themselves to be civilized men and they are going to impose their laws. So in order to impose their laws, you can't just have, they understand you can't just have, maybe in the past you could, right? But that doesn't work anymore. Again, like Brzezinski said, for the first time, mankind is politically awakened. So you can't just force things. You have to do so gradually, right? So how do you do so gradually? Well, you create the chaos first, right? You know how people are going to react. So you create chaos in order to funnel people towards your agenda, which is the order. So, and what's the motto of the Illuminati, right? Ordo ab chaos. Order out of chaos, right? I mean, that's their motto. And when I say the Illuminati people, I'm not using the meme of the Illuminati. There actually was a real group, okay? And the Illuminati meant the illuminated ones. The official named Illuminati got broken up and went underground, but it infiltrated other secret societies, and its members still exist because they carry on the agenda, and it's passed on. It's a secret. They're secrets. It's a secret society hidden inside other secret societies that are out there, and there is an agenda. And it doesn't matter. You know, people are focusing on Trump. Oh my God, did he talk? Did he want the Ukraine to investigate the Bidens, who, by the way, are corrupt? Newsflash: Joe Biden's a corrupt scumbag. His son Hunter Biden, corrupt scumbag. I don't know why that's a newsflash to any of you people. What do you mean Uncle Joe is corrupt? Yeah, he's also a creepy pedophile. He likes to touch women. He likes young girls. He's a scumbag, okay? Creepy Uncle Joe. There's a reason he got that nickname, right? Okay, and his Hunter Biden, whatever. Why are you surprised? Oh, the president said he's corrupt. Oh, how dare him? Really? You know who's making that narrative? The mainstream media. Don't buy into that. Who tells everybody how to think about a subject or how to feel? The mainstream media. Because they get their opinion fed to them, and people are believing it. Because you know how they did that? They switched the narrative away from, because if it went to the police state, if the narrative kept on with the police state, eventually it would have been like, well, the media is complicit. Because you can't look into the subject of the police state with an open mind without realizing that the media is complicit in helping create that. So the media knew that. So they steer it to something that can be controlled. And now whatever the media says, people are like, yeah, you know, 4chan, hey, look, the OK hand sign means white, you know, it's a white power hand gesture. Ha, ha, ha. It's a joke. And the media went with it anyway. And when
they went with it anyway, and all it is the asshole symbol.
Right, and when they got called out, dude, the media got called out by the people on 4chan that made it. And we're like, yo, by the way, this was a joke. This was stupid. It's fake. See, we trolled you. Ha, ha, ha. And the media's like, well, it was a meme, but now white power groups are – no, they're not. You created that meme that didn't exist.
That's right. Totally. Yep.
And I'm not defending Trump or the Proud Boys or anybody. This says I have no affiliation with anybody. What I'm telling you is, from an outsider, ladies and gentlemen, it's bullshit. It's fake. They made that, and now they can use that and wield it. They walk around, oh, look, you know, this, that. Look, the other day they were impeaching Trump, and there was a picture of that little girl. Right? There was a little girl that they had like arrested at the border or whatever, and there's a picture of her, and they're like, look, they separated her from her parents, or she was here by herself or whatever. But that wasn't the story. It turned out like the mother had like run off with the kid or something illegally in Mexico and was trying to cross the border with her. So the real story ended up not being what they had originally presented it as. Well, in Congress, they were still pushing that fake narrative. And it's like, dude, and people will just listen to that. They're not going to research it. They're going to listen to somebody they might, you might have a young person in their young 20s seeing this congressperson, and they might respect this individual. Don't pick on them for respecting them. It's at least they're trying to figure things out, and they're being misled. Okay, because if we pick on each other and continue to make fun of each other, that's not going to solve the problem. Because it's going to keep pissing off the other side. Let's stop. How about we do this? How about everybody stop getting into fights over disagreements or differing opinions? How about we have debates again? Let's make logic cool again. How about that? Let's make using our brains cool again. Because right now everybody is just acting off emotion, and that is what the media is for. That's what their
Popeye,
masters want.
making brains cool again doesn't have a snappy acronym.
Yeah, and I kind of don't feel included in all of that. I kind of feel a little bit isolated by what you're trying to say. It makes too much individual. Well, I'm just saying it pushes too much individualism. Definitely not inclusive.
You can refer to my brain theory is about everybody. See, because surprisingly, this might not be known to many people, but everybody has a brain. I know, shocking, right? Now, if everyone could just figure out how to use it properly, that would be awesome. Okay. Everybody just needs to stop reacting on emotion and use a little bit of logic for real. Just take a deep breath. And this is one of the things I
have you ever seen the appeal to emotion tactics so deployed so much as it is now? I mean, it's like it is a numero uno. I mean, everybody, they know it is working. Do you think it's because people are so like saturated with all this shit going on?
That's the only way to control anything. If they appeal to logic, the arguments don't have any merit, and a lot of these arguments wouldn't even. It would be, well, that's it. You know how I used to say on air, and I practice this in my real life. If someone tries to engage me in an argument that's like not logical and they're just completely off base, I'll tell them I'm not going to engage you in that argument. It's not valid. You come at me with a valid point, that's cool. That's bullshit, and I try to shut it down because I don't want to get dragged into a side argument. That's the whole point of them, right? People want a straw man argument that they can control and win, or sometimes in the case of whatever else, there's 100 different types of side arguments they could drag you in. I honestly think that all of this is done and being done to control people because it's the only way that they can now. Because mankind is again, to quote the big new Brzezinski for the third time tonight, for the first time in human history, mankind has become politically awakened. Go look this up. He said this at a CFR meeting, ladies and gentlemen. I believe it was like 2006 or 2008, somewhere around there.
Popeye. Just take. Hang on. Let's take a little listen. Listen to this, shall we?
Yes, why don't we pull it up there, Kevin?
Oh, Kevin can just find it.
Here we go.
Of the geopolitical context in which we all find ourselves, including America. And in my perspective, that geopolitical context is very much defined by two new global realities. The first is that global political leadership, by which I mean the role of certain leading powers in the world, has now become much more diversified, unlike what it was until relatively recently. Relatively recently still, the world was dominated by the Atlantic world, as it had been for many centuries. It no longer is. Today, the rise of the Far East has created a new but much more differentiated global leadership, one which in a nutshell involves, if one can hazard an arbitrary list of the primary players in the world scene, the United States, clearly, maybe next to it, but maybe the European Union. I say maybe because it is not yet a political entity, certainly increasingly so, and visibly so, China, Russia, mainly in one respect only, because it is a nuclear power co-equal to the United States.
This is only 6 minutes long. He'll get to the bit soon. He's coming. It's coming.
Of what constitutes global power. Behind Russia, perhaps individually, but to much less.
Do you ever notice how all these like globalist scumbags all speak like they've got some kind of like fireball stuck in the back of their throat, like Kissinger and this cat here?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, they're 900 years old too.
Yeah. New entity of G20, a much more diversified global leadership, lacking internal unity.
Somebody's asking who's speaking. It's the big new Brzezinski. He's not with us anymore, but oh dang, he was a player. Really famous photos of him and leader of the Mujahideen that went on to be a really famous guy.
Of human history, mankind is politically awakened. That's a total new.
Kev, rewind it like 10 seconds, because this is where he gets into the second point. Listen.
Antagonisms. That makes the context much more complicated. The other major change in international affairs is that for the first time in all of human history, mankind is politically awakened. That's a total new reality. Total new reality. It has not been so for most of human history until the last 100 years. And in the course of the last 100 years, the whole world has become politically awakened. And no matter where you go, politics is a matter of social engagement, and most people know what is generally going on in the world, and are consciously aware of global iniquities, inequalities, lack of respect, exploitation. Mankind is now politically awakened and stirring. The combination of the two, a diversified global leadership, politically awakened masses, makes a much more difficult context for any major power, including currently the leading world power, the United States.
Yes, there we go. Said speech, Popeye.
Now, he also says that that because of that fact, that it makes it used to be easier to kill. It used to be easier to control 1 million people than it was to kill 1 million people. But because of technology, the advancement of technology, and because of the advancement of mankind's own political awakenedness, that it's now easier to kill 1 million people than it is to control 1 million people.
Yep.
He actually says that. And for those of you that don't know, go look up the Council on Foreign Relations. I mean, we could do a whole show about it.
Good grief.
But I recommend you read.
Here
listen,
you go, Popeye. Take a listen to this. Okay.
People, please read books. Did you find the part where he says it?
Here we go.
For the first time in human history, for the first time in all of human history, almost all of mankind is politically awake. And these new and old major powers face still yet another novel reality, in some respects unprecedented. And it is that while the lethality of their power is greater than ever, their capacity to impose control over the politically awakened masses of the world is at a historical low. I once put it rather pungently, and I was flattered that the British Foreign Secretary repeated this, as follows. Namely, in earlier times, it was easier to control 1 million people, literally. It was easier to control 1 million people than physically to kill 1 million people. Today, it is infinitely easier to kill 1 million people than to control 1 million people. It is easier to kill than to control.
Yep, there you go. And Polly, unfortunately, dude, I'd love to say that's fake, and it sounds a bit warbly there. I get that. But there's video of that cat saying that, dude, long before deep fakes came into anything. This is the guy that was like out there arming the Mujahideen.
Yeah, he was.
He's a player, dude. He's
a
there.
Big time player.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Let me point something out. Okay. Do you see that reaction? Oh, it's fake. It's a deep fake. That's what I meant when I said to you guys that is put out there, that technology was allowed to get out so people could mess with it, so it would create a meme and become a thing, and then they could turn around and say, whoa, no, everything is fake. No, it's not fake. Zbigniew Brzezinski was a real person. His daughter is Mika Brzezinski. She is a TV presenter on the entertainment network of MSNBC, okay? Because that's what it is. It's not a news channel. None of them are. Okay, let's all stop calling it news because it's not. We should just call it like the E-Entertainment Network because it's about what it does. So his daughter is just as involved in doing her own part. She's not stupid. She's just as smart. Look at who she's married to, Joe Scarborough. That guy's got his own history. Anyway,
Yep.
Brzezinski was an evil individual. This man was involved in a lot of things. And yes, he was involved in the formation of the Mujahideen, which became Al-Qaeda. Okay? This guy.
And the trilaterals.
Yeah, you know, he ever read, what is it, the Grand Chessboard? Right? Isn't that the title of his book?
Yeah, that's right.
Something like the Grand Chessboard. I think that's what it is, the Grand Chessboard. You got to read his book. These people make no bones about who they are. You just actually have to do the research. So I advise everybody to don't do your research on YouTube. Half the good stuff is gone. Most of it's gone. Okay, and the stuff that is there, there is some good stuff still up there.
Yeah,
but
it's
a lot
not,
of stuff
it's not
that's
like
up there,
it used to be.
No, it's not as informative. And the people that did these videos, it's like third or fourth hand info. Okay, you have to read books. You can, if you go to, there is a download archive on federaljack.com. It's free. There's a couple different sections like the police state, war, stuff like that, 9/11, JFK. There's a lot of free videos you can download from there, which is good. But read books. Go look up different authors. I'd have to dig my books out to even read you the titles of some of the books. But if you start to read about the CFR, there are a couple good publications out there. If you have Audible, look this stuff up. A lot of these books have been like Jim Mars's stuff. Jim Mars's books are actually a great place to start. You want a good place to start?
That'd be great.
Go with what the hell was it? Rule by Secrecy. Start with Rule by Secrecy and then Rise of the Fourth Reich. If you read you can even read Rise of the Fourth Reich first and then read Rule by Secrecy, because you can read either one of those two. But Rule by Secrecy will teach you more about the CFR and the Trilateral Commission and who some of these players were. A lot of the people that are coming into this now are trying to, maybe think outside the box now, might not know some of these names because these people, like Zbigniew Brzezinski, is now dead. He died a few years back. So,
and if you want a very easy, simple read that's free and available to anybody on the internet, War is a Racket by Smedley Butler, if you read that goes to show you that this has been going on for a very, very, very long time. And he can provide like a foundation for you to then take what Jim Mars is giving you, which is like kind of the World War II and up, and just totally, it's going to make your mind melt.
Well,
and you know what else is another good book? None Dare Call Him Conspiracy by Gary Allen. If you go to federaljack.com, go to the download, there'll be a tab that says downloads or download section. Click on it, and then you'll see a page will come up with a bunch of different download sections. If you click on the ebook one in there's a couple copies of Gary Allen's book, None Dare Call It Conspiracy, if you want it for free, or just buy the book. It's like, I think it's like $9 or $10.
You gotta read that book.
It's cheap on Audible too. He lays out who the CFR are, and he'll explain like how all these they call it a think tank, but there's video which I'm sure Kev could find of Hillary Clinton when she was the Secretary of State, saying that she comes down and she goes down to the Washington branch, like she goes down to the branch that's right up the street from her office, the Secretary of State's office, and she goes and she gets her marching orders from them. She actually says that while she's speaking at a Council on Foreign Relations meeting.
Hang on.
There's one, I think it's when she's wearing the blue dress is the one that was, if I remember correctly. She's like, this is where I come down right up the street from my office to get my marching orders. Some of them are probably uploads I put up there if they're still up there. Years ago.
Oh, thank you very much, Richard, and I am delighted to be here in these new headquarters. I have been often to, the mothership in New York City. But it's good to have an outpost of the council right here down the street from the State Department. We get a lot of advice from the council, so this will mean I won't have as far to go to be told what we should be doing and how we should think about the future. Richard just...
Yeah. Boom.
So yeah, so that's not hearsay. That's not me making anything up. That's not a deep fake video. That's Hillary Clinton openly talking at a CFR meeting.
So
but you see,
listen, Popeye.
That's why I had that reaction when you said about the deep fake thing to me the first time, and I was like, and I was alarmed by it. That was the first thing I thought of was, oh God, I know exactly what they're gonna do with it.
But Popeye,
and that's why now they just have to sow the seed of doubt, Kev. Sorry, go on.
No, I was going to say to you, because we're going to wrap it up now, to give you 5 minutes, if you can, like, summarize it or give people something
If
to
he's
take
capable
away.
of that.
Yeah, from all of this, where we've kind of, this story we've kind of woven for people tonight. Give people something to take away from all of it, brother.
Yeah, you just hit them with like the mallet of truth, so go easy on them.
Yeah, you need to kind of take the rough edges off it and let everyone go out the safe space feeling nice and comforted tonight.
Well, I'll just put it this way. Wake up, Neo. Follow the white rabbit. It's that simple.
Ouch.
So don't be scared of the truth. There's nothing.
I was just scared.
I know the truth is. I know it is kind of scary, right? It's more comfortable to think it's as predictable as we think it is, with just oh, this or that, or there's not a big conspiracy. But yeah, come on, there is. I mean, they openly use the term New World Order now in the media. You see it in TV shows now. I see it more than ever in TV shows. People will be like, yeah, this guy, the bad guy always is, oh, he has some crazy idea of a New World Order. Right. Where they would never have used that terminology in the past. They're doing so because they make things commonplace. They're prepping your brain, okay? They're prepping your brain for what's to come. You know how the Navy would prep back in like World War II before they invaded Iwo? They bombarded it, I think, for like 6 weeks straight, 6 or 8 weeks.
Something like that, yeah.
I mean, it was just ridiculous. They bombarded the island for, right? Well, that's what they're doing. They're bombarding your brain right now. They're preparing it. You are the most scientific, special creation that could ever be. You are infinite consciousness, residing. I don't like the word trapped because that makes you think that it's a prison. We're not here in a prison. You're residing in a biological computer. And I say residing in that computer because we reside in our brainstem, right? Our body is just more like the car. And this biological computer exists inside of this biological / mechanical, because we are somewhat mechanical. So biological, mechanical marvel we call the human body. It's capable of healing itself. It's capable of doing so many different things. And we are here experiencing this life in this time. Now, I mean, we are technically in a matrix and we do make our own reality. And that's, 16 different broadcasts in and of itself. But while we're here, we have the chance to affect positive change, negative change, or any type of change. Okay? It's all about how we focus our energy. It's all about what our intent is. And that's why they spend so much time, energy, and effort trying to get you to focus your energy and your effort and your intent on whatever symbols or things or beliefs that they want you to focus on. Don't give them your power, ladies and gentlemen. Don't be scared of the truth. Don't hide because, it's scary and it's easier to believe, kind of let the cognitive dissonance kick in. Don't be afraid of it. There's nothing to be afraid of. If you have power, if you have truth on your side and you have knowledge, then you have power. If you know what's coming, you can deal with it, right? If you don't know you're sick, you can't try to get yourself better. If you don't know there's a problem with something, whatever it may be, you can't try to fix it. So the knowledge shouldn't be a burden. The knowledge should actually be a key. It can be a burden or a key. You can choose. Do you want it to hold you down and make you crawl back, and hide away and pretend you didn't hear it? Or do you want to use that key to unlock yourself and free your mind? Because then you're really free.
Yes,
then you make positive change.
Go on, Popeye, say your favorite.
Amen to that, buddy. Amen to that.
Go on, Popeye, say your favorite outro about the mirror. Come on, man, be the change, dude. Do your thing, and that'll take us out of here for the night.
Well, yeah, as I used to say on air all the time, Kev, ladies and gentlemen, you are the superheroes that you are looking for. You are the person that you've been waiting for your whole life to come rescue you. You are the one. You are Neo. So go out and be the change that this world needs. Go out and be the superheroes that this world needs. I believe in you. Kev believes in you. And I know Joe and Ange believe in you. I know Tina believes in you. We all believe in you.
Won't you be my neighbor?
Yeah, won't you be our neighbor and go out and make the world a better place? Peace.